serious?
Will the Spider-Man come out to play? Supergirl comes out this weekend, and that's happening. There are the first reactions coming out now for this movie, and they are pretty much what I and a lot of people have predicted, which is very mixed to very few positives. And there's not really a lot of negatives. There are quite a few, but it's not really so far from what I've seen. It's just a lot of like mixed to forgettable. What gives me promise and what I liked out of these reviews is that the majority of the reviews are saying that this movie is loosely, I mean, loosely like a shell casing, if you will, of an adaptation of Woman of Tomorrow, which is one of the shittiest fucking Supergirl stories out there. Why did they pick that one when there's decades of stories out there? Don't know. For some reason, Hollywood is obsessed with the punk rock version of anything because Supergirl is stupid. Is that what you're trying to tell us? That the character sucks so bad that you kind of had to change her into something else just so you could get your what? Your baby sister who doesn't even read fucking comic books to go see it? This is ridiculous, man. Like, I get the Helen Slater version isn't, the greatest, but I will give it credit where credit's due. It was telling a Supergirl story. It wasn't trying to be anything more, it wasn't trying to be anything less. Unfortunately, the execution, the villain, all of this stuff just didn't work. You could tell they were just throwing it out there like, hey, she exists, guys, and do with what you will. And my favorite version of Kara was in Smallville. I really like that bubbly version, positive, go-getter attitude. There's nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with that. But James Gunn, Hollywood, all of this shit, they seem to have a problem with characters who are female who are just fucking happy. So that's a thing. So I don't know what to expect, but I'm glad that it's not a direct adaptation of Tom King's bullshit writing. Watch, you're going to see a lot of Supergirl stands on the internet for the next week or so, and then they'll just disappear. And then we're going to be like, hey, remember those guys? And then they're all going to be like, what? Shh, we weren't here. Shh. Yeah, we look like ass. Shh, but we weren't here. Shh. We sold our soul to the devil. Shh. They call us influencers. Shh. It's so funny to watch these influencers sit and talk with these directors and stars of the film because you could tell they're not journalists. They haven't a clue on how to structure an interview. It's just like you know what it reminds me of? The influencers that I see on TikTok that get the opportunity to sit down and talk with James Gunn, Millie Alcock, all that, even last year with Superman. It reminds me of that skit from SNL where Chris Farley has the Chris Farley show.
Okay. You remember when you were with the Beatles? And
That's what watching these influencers talking to these people is exactly like. It's entertaining and it's funny because you could see in their eyes, in their faces, uh, that these influencers they look like they're doing something so profound. It's adorable, but also very sad and cringy. Now, let's talk about Spider-Man because Spider-Man is the movie that I'm looking forward to. A lot of people are looking forward to coming out in July. This is the movie that is going to crush Supergirl as far as when it comes to the superhero genre. We've got two movies of superheroes that are coming out. Of course, Spider-Man is going to dethrone Supergirl. It's not like they're going up against Superman. And so with Supergirl coming out, smart choice to release that first. Maybe not. I don't know. Let's just see what happens. I haven't seen Supergirl, but I can predict what the outcome of that film is going to be for a lot of people. So with Spider-Man, brand new day. We just got a new trailer, like a week ago or so. And based off of the footage of that, There's so much speculation. Like my brain is just going everywhere when it comes to this movie. How it's going to possibly segue into Doomsday, maybe not. Maybe it has nothing to do with any connection to the future MCU films, which I kind of hope. I like that Spider-Man stands on his own. I hated that we had Spider-Man for so many years attached to Tony Stark, and it was all about, Robert Downey Jr. and Spider-Man. And it was like, what the fuck's happening? I want Spider-Man to be on his own. Spider-Man is Spider-Man. It's just weird. So in Civil War, I thought that was the best version of the MCU Spider-Man from Tom Holland. For some reason, that little appearance that he had made more of an impact than any of his feature films have on me. So, yeah, but I'm gonna have a little fun here. Since we're talking about Spider-Man, I kind of want to rank the movies here because I've watched all of them recently, not really preparing for Brand New Day or anything. These are just movies that I watch a lot, whether they're on in the background, whether I'm cleaning, whether I'm cooking, whatever. They're just there. And I've seen these movies numerous times, but I also found myself kind of liking the ones that I also think are forgettable because of the moments that are in that said film. So let's start with actually number five, The Amazing Spider Man, directed by Mark Webb, which I was annoyed when I heard the director was Mark Webb directing a Spider Man movie. I was like, did you guys just get this guy because of his last name, not because of his talent? I thought Andrew Garfield did a decent job. I think that his Peter Parker, I'm a little mixed on that. It's a little bit of a mixed bag for me with him because, for one, he doesn't look like Peter Parker at all. I mean, this guy, if you see him in high school, he looks like the Flash Thompson. It was great to see Gwen Stacy, the actual Gwen Stacy, in the movie. The chemistry between Garfield and her was just so organic and natural. You can understand why they started to date after this. The Lizard, kind of a weak villain. Didn't like the actor. I would have rather liked to see the Dr. Connors from the Raimi trilogy becoming this character. I think that they were trying to set him up for, I think, in a fourth Spider-Man film with Tobey Maguire, they were going to do something with that because for three films you saw Dr. Connors as Peter's, professor. So I think it would have made sense to show that growth and you would have appreciated that character even more. With this one, I didn't feel any connection to Dr. Connors. I didn't care about the villain. It was just like, oh, look, the lizard from the Spider-Man cartoon and comics. But this came out right at the tail end of the Dark Knight trilogy that Christopher Nolan directed. And around that time, I can tell, and you can clearly tell from this film, was that everyone involved in this movie and in Hollywood, the climate at the time was make your superheroes more grounded. Make your environment more grounded in reality. Don't make this look like a comic book. Make it look like a movie. And see, that's the problem. Spider-Man, it's Spider-Man is a character that you can take and you don't have to just handcuff yourself as a creative and just make it realistic and you can't have fun. No, have fun with the character. That's why Sam Raimi's trilogy was so great. Even though the third film was the weakest link, it still works as an enjoyable world to just dive into. This movie was also afraid to really commit to the whole Uncle Ben, with great power comes great responsibility, and they kind of morphed it into this other sentence that just sounded so convoluted, and you have to stop and think for a second and be like, wait, does it mean okay, yeah. It was dumb. Number four would be Spider-Man Homecoming. Spider-Man Homecoming, it's a bit of a mixed bag as well for me. I think that I enjoy the Peter Parker aspect of this Spider-Man, but when he's Spider-Man and you're so linked to the whole Stark Industry thing, like that's where it loses me. I remember watching this movie and I thought this would be a better movie without any tie into the MCU. Even though it is an MCU film, you don't have to tie it into anything. It doesn't have to be attached to something. It could just be its own thing. But that's what this movie was afraid to dive into. And this movie really depended on Tony Stark, Iron Man, the stuff you knew from the previous MCU. It just didn't really allow Spider-Man to be Spider-Man. I loved Vulture. Michael Keaton's casting was perfect. I thought that there were moments in this movie that I, as a fan, loved, but it wasn't enough for me to walk away and go, this was the ultimate Spider Man movie. It was serviceable. It's fine. It's fun, but definitely forgettable. Number three, Spider Man 3. Totally kidding. No, 2002's Spider Man, the Sam Raimi directed film starring Tobey Maguire, Kirsten Dunst, Willem Dafoe. Why did I put Willem Dafoe after Kirsten Dunst? I don't know. Who cares? Let's move on. My first time seeing any footage of this film was on Entertainment Tonight when Entertainment Tonight showed the teaser trailer to this film, which displayed the two towers as the reflection of Spider Man's eyes. And I remember after the 9/11 attacks, I remember that they took the poster and the trailer down, and I thought it was so awesome. But I understand why they did that, and now you can find it on YouTube anywhere. And that there for me was just 2002 was the year of Spider-Man for me. Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones was coming out. I think they came out around the same month, but Spider-Man, man, was for me the movie of the summer, the movie of the year practically. And this came out right after X-Men came out. This came out also right before the sequel to X-Men. So this was right in the middle of that. So we had several years of just amazing Marvel shit to enjoy. Something that was different because as a kid of the 90s, I just only watched Batman, being displayed on the silver screen. There was no other comic book characters, but it really truly wasn't the Spider-Man that embraced, being the shit talker, while he's going out saving the day and all of this stuff. You got that in Andrew Garfield's performance, but it wasn't enough for me to be like, yeah, this is the guy. Again, moments that I like throughout the mediocre Spider-Man films, I enjoy. They take me back to some great moments in the comics and in the cartoon, but again, not enough to make up for a great film. Number two, Spider-Man No Way Home is not only a awesome Spider-Man film, but it's also one that matters to me. You have the three Spider-Men in one film because Peter Parker from the MCU screwed up a spell, well, helped screwed up a spell that Doctor Strange was trying to make, so that way he can help his friends, himself, and not be the target of everything after his identity was revealed in the second Spider-Man MCU film, which was dog shit, by the way. So here we are in No Way Home, and you've got Tobey Maguire back as Peter Parker, you got Andrew Garfield back as Peter Parker, and you've got Tom Holland as Peter Parker in the same film. And I'm not a fan of Zendaya in these Spider-Man flicks, but there was purpose for her in this film. I thought that they utilized her well. She mattered. She actually did stuff that was relevant into the story. So I thought that was fine. I thought that, Andrew Garfield having his moments in the film, I thought that was great. It was cool having his redemption moment, saving, fake MJ from falling to her death, which it's a redemption arc, if you will, from the shitty Spider-Man movie, The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Um, so you had some great moments with that. And but the scene stealer of that entire movie would have to go to Willem Dafoe playing the Green Goblin again. And I loved the Green Goblin in the first Spider-Man film with Tobey Maguire. Him coming back in this movie, he was more vicious, he was scarier. You could tell Willem Dafoe took what he did before and elevated it, and it was just so great. The fact that his Green Goblin murdered the MCU Aunt May was just it was mind-blowing. It was different. It was cool. I liked it. It was like a part of my childhood flavor came in and shits on the MCU, and I loved it. And the number one ultimate Spider-Man movie for me, and it will always be my favorite Spider-Man, not only a great Spider-Man movie, but it's one of the greatest superhero movies of all time. That's Spider-Man 2, directed by Sam Raimi, starring Tobey Maguire, Alfred Molina as Doc Ock. And Doc Ock is in No Way Home, which was also great to see. But I enjoyed his Doc Ock more in Spider-Man 2, seeing the evil scientist, watching the origin story, the death of his wife, how that just made him go more insane. The scene where they were in the hospital room with all the nurses and doctors there, it was a total horror moment. Sam Raimi all the way. I mean, it was insane. This movie was great. It's got a great story. You've got great characters. The character arc of Peter Parker's is just so brilliant, and well done and emotional. And when the ending happens to that film, it's just such a beautiful ride, man. And it was such a great film to sit down and watch again after not seeing it for so many years. Again, I cannot think of any moment in that movie where they wasted time. Everything in that film, every frame, every moment of that movie moves the story forward. And I loved it. Spider Man 2 will go down, like I said, as not only the greatest Spider Man movie ever, but it is one of the greatest comic book films of all time, right after Richard Donner's Superman the movie. Unlike The Amazing Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3, directed by Sam Raimi, has aged well, just a little bit, has aged well over time. And I don't hate that movie. I don't completely dislike that movie either. I think it's an okay Spider-Man movie with lots of problems. But ultimately, the main problem of that movie was the casting of Topher Grace as Eddie Brock. It just was like, what? And you could tell Sam Raimi was not totally invested in this film. I mean, he didn't even want to do a Spider-Man 3 with Venom, but the studio was like, we got to put Venom in it because people have been waiting for it. And the way it was done, I guess, yeah, it's done like the comics. It came from space. That's it. But the storyline with the astronauts and all of that stuff, I mean, no, 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 no. I don't know if they're going to tackle that into the MCU. I kind of hope so. If they want to go and do a Peter centric trilogy, instead of just really depending on the MCU and the multiverse and all this other shit, finally just tell a fucking Spider Man story, that would be great. However, I don't think that's going to happen because, again, we're going to get Secret Wars, and rumor has it that he's going to be in Secret Wars, and that's where the symbiote will make its debut. I don't know. That's just from what I've heard and read. So, but anyway, Spider Man Brand New Day comes out in theaters July 31st. I want to know what you guys are expecting from this movie. I mean, do you guys think that this is going to segue right into Doomsday? And if it does, what do you think Spider Man's role is going to be in Secret Wars? Because I don't think he's going to be in Doomsday. If he is, they're keeping that a secret, which I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't put it past them. I wouldn't be shocked if I saw Tom Holland at the end of this movie or in an end credit scene, making moves or making waves. That's if Spider-Man doesn't die in Brand New Day, which I heard was a rumor. Do you think Spider-Man's going to die or not? I think it would be a big mistake if you handle it poorly, even though you know he's coming back. I think that it would be a big mistake. I don't know. See, Spider-Man hasn't had his own trilogy at all. I mean, with Spider-Man Homecoming, you had him linked with Tony Stark, and at the end it was kind of the Iron Spider thing happened. Too much MCUisms. In the sequel, very heavy Tony Stark isms, if you will, because of his death. So that surrounds the movie a lot. And then there's Nick Fury, and then there's all this other stuff. Just didn't feel like a Spider-Man film. Then you got No Way Home, which I just talked about. Great movie, awesome film. Love the ending, how it just kind of displays that he is on his own, and we can move on from these characters. Fake MJ, his best friend, everything gone, right? But they're coming back for Brand New Day. They're fucking coming back for Brand New Day. And yeah, so we can't really have Peter move on from fake MJ. We have to really just keep Zendaya in the movie somehow. So this is the story we got. We can't really just have Peter move on and meet someone new like Gwen Stacy and kind of just segue into the comic storyline and then boom, Spider-Man. Let's go. But no, they're so like, oh, who's popular on Instagram? What can we make? It's all shit, man. These creatives, man. But listen, I'm not going to shit on that because this could be a great film. I saw the trailer. It looks amazing. So, and I like Zendaya. I just don't like her character in this movie. I don't like that she is playing a character that, I mean, I get why they cast her as MJ. I'm not going to get into politics, but it's whatever. It is what it is. So, fuck gingers, right? So, poor Karen Gillan. So, anyway, she can't get a role unless it takes place in Scotland. Like, I don't know, Highlander. I love Savage Hulk. I'm glad that they're bringing back Savage Hulk. So, but I have no idea what the Hulk is doing there. Now, the question is this: is Daredevil going to appear in this movie? Because we see the hand, we see the prison. I watched Daredevil, the Disney Plus Daredevil season 2, Born Again, and there's a lot there that's left on the table. To which I was like, well, I saw the trailer to Spider-Man, so who knows? Who knows? We're going to get a very PG-13 version of The Punisher, which I'm not excited about. I love The Punisher. I loved the first season. Didn't like the second season. I thought it was shit. But my favorite version of the Punisher was watching him in the Netflix Daredevil series. That is the Frank that I want to see. That is the Frank that I think we're still going to get. But they put poor Frank in the middle of this fantastical universe now. So we're seeing him in all this stuff. And I'm just like, this feels weird watching John Bernthal interacting with Peter Parker and in the middle of the street, something's happening and he's in the middle of it, and I'm like, what? This is a different guy, but no, it's the same character. Um, but I really hope that they don't disrespect, the Punisher in this film, which I don't think. John Bernthal's really adamant about taking care of his character. What do you folks think? What do you guys expect coming from Spider-Man Brand New Day? Do you think that this is going to be one that ends Peter's story and we won't see him until Secret Wars? Or do you guys think that this could be the start of a new trilogy, which could be a Spider-Man Peter Parker centric film without any ties to the MCU? We understand it's in the same universe, but we don't have to see anything from it. That's just what we all want, right? Right? Okay. So, anywho, 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 any fucking who. Well, if we're going to talk about franchises that have been pissed on, let's talk about Game of Thrones, shall we? So, House of the Dragon season 3 premiered on Sunday night, and this guy watched it because I'm a fan of this show. However, I understand that it's not a strong series. By the middle of season 2, I started to worry, and I went, "Uh-oh, they're doing this." Season 1 was great. Season 1 was a slow burn, but a really good slow burn where it really just kept you captivated. It made you keep watching. You wanted to know how this problem, how it's fixed. What's going to happen with this character, this subplot? You know, how does this get fixed? It was just such a great season of television. Like I felt like Game of Thrones was back. A lot of the things that I liked about the first 3 seasons specifically is what House of the Dragon did for me. Season 1, Millie Alcock was in it, till they switched up, the actors, and then they went into the older version of her character, which I thought was a little bit wonky. Like I mentioned earlier, talking about Supergirl, but it is what it is, and that's the story that they're telling. Still great. Ends on a awesome note. It's just brilliant. Season 2 started off great, ended very mediocre. Too many scenes, too many pointless scenes of two characters that were engaging in season 1, and then it takes a massive halt in season 2 between the characters of Rhaenyra and Allison. And I like Rhaenyra's character. I think she's cool. I like that she's not so black and white. I like that she's complicated. I like that we can't really think what she's thinking at the moment. I enjoy that stuff. But the scene stealer of this entire show right now, and I know a lot of you who are watching this, who watch my channel, y'all are going, there he goes. See, of course you got to bring him up. Of course, is Matt Smith. Doctor Who's Matt Smith as Daemon Targaryen. This guy is a fucking G. And in the show and in real life, I love Matt Smith. He's such a good guy. He's so great to his fans that he's easily my favorite Doctor. When I think about like Tennant or Matt Smith's Doctors 10 or 11, I love Tennant. I love 10 for what he did and all of this stuff. But David Tennant's kind of a little bit of a weirdo. And there are moments when David Tennant talks, I'm just like, oh, dude, no, you're Matt Smith's my favorite now. Matt Smith's my favorite. Matt Smith, I think any actor that doesn't go deep into politics and talk about things that people are divided on, but you talking about it doesn't make you stunning and brave. You know what I'm saying? You talking about it doesn't make you profound. There are other people that are more important than pretenders that talk about serious issues. And when actors talk about serious issues without really doing the homework, you tend to sound a bit prickish and pretentious and very naive. And this is somebody who's not in the medical field. A lot of people are not in the medical field. But when you see somebody who is their whole life is just surrounded by glamour, scripts, production notes, agents, phone calls, but you want to talk about medical stuff and the dangers of it and how you ignore the dangers of that for ideological purposes. You sound like a fucking idiot. You sound very naive. And David Tennant is that. But I love his Doctor. I love his Doctor because his character was written well. But Matt Smith is and can be easily everyone's favorite Doctor. Because the guy cares about the character, he cares about the fans, cares about what project he's working on. He is 100% devoted, and it shows. In House of the Dragon, you don't see any of his previous roles that he played. You see Daemon Targaryen. And man, I love this character so much. I wouldn't agree with half of the things that he does, but I love how this character is written. Like Rhaenyra, I like complicated characters. I like characters that you can't really read. They are at times, um, you know, you don't expect certain decisions or all of this stuff from these characters, but they do these things, and I'm enjoying that. Now, with House of the Dragon season 2, even though it started to get shitty halfway through the season 2, there was this build up to this war and it never happens. And then we had to wait 2 years later for this battle, which takes place at the very end of this episode, by the way. And from what I've heard, this episode was supposed to be the final episode of season 2. It's just that they just had it on a shelf there for a couple of years because they wanted that to be the premiere of season 3, which makes me think that the actual premiere of season 3 must be dog shit or something, because for them to be like, no, 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 let's risk this entire season's legacy and the show's legacy so we can have a battle sequence as the opener of season 3. Dumb. Dumb. And it was also a bit disappointing, the episode. It wasn't terrible, but it was very underwhelming. And at the end, you lose a character that which I've also heard, and then I had to read up myself, that this character dies in such a heroic way. Whereas I watched in this episode, and the way he dies like a punk ass. Just that's it. And everyone was like, oh my God, no, and I'm like, are you serious? That was the weakest fucking death in the show. I think that people just missed Game of Thrones and they just wanted to see someone die. But this is the character that's like, guys, honestly, he was a cool character. They build him up to be this thing. And then at the end of the series, you're like, that's it? Really? That's not a good first impression, folks. So I don't know. We'll see in the next season. I was kind of thinking about maybe if I want to do like reviews weekly of this, but I'm like, dude, you can go on YouTube and find like 50 fucking reviews of this show, and they all do watch parties and stuff like that. But I don't know. I might talk about it next week anyway, just like this, just casually talking about it. But um, I did watch it, and I just get a kick out of the intros. That Game of Thrones theme. This was the best version of that, by the way. That the drums that come in, that dun 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 dun, and then the music kicks in. Dun, 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 dun. Loved it. I love the score to this entire show. Very much like Murray Gold. Murray Gold could score a complete dog shit season or seasons of Doctor Who, which he has. Shooty got was. But man, if you take away just all the visuals and you just listen to that score, it's beautiful. Murray Gold is what John Williams is to Star Wars. He is for Doctor Who. This show, Game of Thrones, I cannot imagine anyone else scoring this. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name because I'll just butcher it. But that gentleman, that is the sound of that show. I mean, even with A Night in the Seven Kingdoms, which is a fantastic show, by the way. It's the best Game of Thrones series. I put this above House of the Dragon, above seasons 5, 6, 7, and 8 of Game of Thrones. If you have not seen A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, check it out, please. It's so good. It's so good. It's funny. It's fun. Yes, I said funny because there's unintentional comedic moments that happen, and it's great. It's brilliant. I can't wait for season two. It's my favorite Game of Thrones series right now. Can't wait for season two. Comes out next year. Cannot wait. The production design on that show. I mean, even from its first episode here, I'm like, it's just better than any production that Disney, Marvel, Lucasfilm, DC. I mean, it just surpasses that. I'm wondering like how and why. This is where we're at in Hollywood, folks. Well, that's it for me today. That is it from me. I'm out of here. I'm gone. Um, however, I'll be back next week sometime. I'll be I'll be here. You guys have been great. You guys have been awesome. Enjoyed talking with you folks. A lot of you have been writing in, sending me messages on Twitter, about said subjects and things that I've talked about. And I enjoy a really great discussion. We can disagree about everything, but ultimately, why are we all here still? It's because we're fans of this stuff and we all want to see this work. So, yeah. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. I will be back, but until then, I'm out. Peace.